Hello everybody and welcome to the behind the scenes video talking about the railway review series on my channel. I apologise for the delay, but hey, let's just say I'm trying to get you into the experience of the railway industry. So not only are the trains delayed, but the videos talking about the trains are delayed. Aha! Totally planned. Yeah. Let's start from way back, the origins of these ideas. So I was surfing the internet one day, and in my recommendations, I saw a video called The Unicum Guide to the M4A1 Revolution Tank. Something like that. And I gave it a watch, and I loved it. Even though I have never played World of Tanks, and never will, I don't have that much interest in tanks, I was still invested in the video because it was kind of funny. It was basically a series of videos teaching people how to play tanks in the game, since there were way too many noobs and hey, you know what, we gotta teach people how to play these tanks properly. The series was popular enough that many people wanted to make their own Unicum guides, showing how to use the other tanks that were added into the game, as well as for other video games, like Forza Horizon. Someone did it for World of Warships, where I think there was a running gag with torpedo beats, in which the ship would dodge torpedoes shot by another ship, but the music was there was added music to go with like Eurobeat music, which is kind of funny. And I think someone even did it with a real tank. The series was so popular that even Wargaming, the creators of World of Tanks, made their own Unicum guides. So yeah, it was kind of popular. And it kind of took off. And I thought to myself, after watching these videos, why didn't I try one? Because obviously, we've seen one for Forza Horizon and other video games, but what about trains? Now, obviously, Train Simulator wouldn't work, but how about teaching people real-life trains? Or maybe reviewing real-life trains in this style? So one Sunday, I decided to hop down to Heathrow and Paddington, film a couple of 332s, and cook up a little test. The following is this test video I made.
The Class 332 is a 4 or 5 coach electric multiple unit, operated by Heathrow Express. It has spent the last 2 decades running between London Paddington and Heathrow Airport, giving passengers an unrivaled experience of speed, comfort, short formations and extortionate ticket prices, all mixed up, and served as a bowl of dry heave-inducing paella.
So, what went wrong? Well, there wasn't enough footage, but that's not really that relevant here. The main problem with the video was I didn't really have a direction with it. I didn't know what I really wanted to make. I just had the basic idea, like text-to-speech, 332, something, and I didn't really have much direction, and I think that sort of really hampered my desire to work with it, but not as much as the music choice. I did not like the music choice I went with. I should say the song, I actually like the song. It's from Dynamite Heady, which was a game that was on my head after watching a boss rush of it. I think that's why I was using that music, because I thought, I don't know, I like that music that happened, but only the first bit of that song was really good. And that's okay, because you would only hear the first bit of that song in the game, because it was like the intro to a boss. Another thing that really slowed me down was I had a job and I was doing the Trains and News show, so why should I make another video series that I really didn't want to really work on when I could do something that I at least could fake interest working on? So I wasn't really motivated to continue after the test, showed it to a friend, and that was really about it. Several months later, in February 2020, I was working in Reading Station from 5:30 in the morning because, well, the company I was working with, Southwestern, specifically my manager, wanted to find out what was causing all the trains to depart in the morning peak from Reading not on time. What was wrong with the punctuality? So he sent me to go there every morning during my working week to find out what the problem was. Something funny that did happen was my manager suggested that I don't wear my uniform to prevent arousing suspicion from the other guards, to think that I was some inspector, which technically I was, but you know, they wanted to avoid any of that happening, so I just wore my own clothes. And at one time, one of the staff at Reading started talking to me about homeless charities because he thought I was homeless, and I had to say, "Oh no, I'm with you guys over there." It's just I'm just doing some. That's kind of funny. It showed how good I was at disguising myself, tapping into my inner born identity there, but whatever. Effectively being paid to train spots, and I do regret not bringing my DSLR. But the downtime of the trains there, because there's only 2 an hour, and the turnaround times at Reading are half an hour-ish. The downtime made me think about the 165 and 166. I said to myself, well, why don't we try this idea again? I mean, I'm seeing these trains all the time. We could easily film them. Maybe this will be a better train to do than the 332. So that's what I did. Interior was all filmed at Reading, a lot of shots were at Reading, and I came up with a rough idea of what I wanted to do with the video, and I uploaded it, asked people what they thought about it, and the feedback was largely positive. And the comment section was flooded with people asking me to do the IET, so so people wanting me to do requests, you used your request up, get wrecked. In fact, the only reason I took up the IET was, well, I'm in Reading already, so I can easily film them. And again, the interior shot on the IET was not only filmed at Reading, but it was actually filmed on a unit that was cancelled and had to turn back there. So, skill. Yeah. As I continued making these videos, I found out that they were really, really fun to make now that I had a rough idea of how I wanted to present it, how I needed to review trains. They were really fun because they also forced me out to the house, because, you know, I can't exactly film a Voyager in my house for logistical reasons. I have to go out to Southampton or Reading or Birmingham in order to get footage of one. To add, even in 2020, talking about Train Simulator was getting very boring because of, well, you've seen the almost comical amount of community antics. The Alan Thompson cronies, the Armstrong Powerhouse, Dovetail not understanding what a customer is. And it's still just as bad today. The only recent thing I've noticed is the Armstrong Powerhouse have removed public reviews. No, the review system full stop on their website. So they do not care about your feedback at all. Another factor that really pushed me to make these videos even more was another channel I stumbled upon called 3D Bot Maker, which does diecast car racing series. And it's very simple. All they do is run cars down a track, and in itself, that sounds really boring, but they have some excellent commentary, easily some of the best commentary I've heard on like a YouTube channel. It made me go, wow, this is really interesting. This is so fun to watch. I wonder who's going to win this race. And I think a good way I can really make a comparison is that the commentators on the 3D Bookmaker channel remind me of Mad World. That Wii game that no one's really heard of because it didn't sell that well. But if you play that game, well, I haven't played it either. I should probably... But I've seen cutscenes from it, and I really love the commentators there, and they really remind me as a sort of one below that. They're not as vulgar, but they are as entertaining. And if you can, make me give you like a thumbs up with commentary, that's definitely good in my own right. That being said, it also taught me a very important lesson, and that is anything can be entertaining as long as you don't make it boring. Stamp collecting can be really boring from somebody looking from the outside, but why don't you tell people and show people the amount of stamps you have? Like, it's one of the longest going on hobbies that we know of because you can learn a lot from stamps. Pottery may seem like you're just playing with mud, but then show people the kinds of things you can make with pottery. You can make vases, plates, urns. You can sculpt so much with just a rotating plate and some clay. What about seashells? Well, you've got to start somewhere if you want to get into paleontology. Take someone to the Jurassic Coast and have a drink for how many seashells you don't find there. Or fossils for that matter, but whatever. That's the point though. You can learn a lot from these different kinds of shells and fossils you can find. Unless you want to tell me that all of those fossils, those dinosaurs and shells just conveniently died and deposited themselves in South Kensington. What about RPGs, tabletop RPGs specifically? It can be very boring. You can associate them with just being nerdy, but I actually did my first tabletop role-playing session about a month or so ago, and it was so much fun! Granted, it was on Discord, and I had to be doing it at 12 o'clock at night because of time zones, and I kept getting trolled by the dice. Like, there was one point where my character and an enemy were just... We both rolled low and we were just flailing at each other like dolls. That was really funny. But again, you get somebody into something like that by making it as interesting as possible and just saying, hey, this can be fun if you just have along and use your imagination. Same thing with gardening and horticulture. Show people the different kinds of plants and how you can improve the biodiversity in your garden by just planting a couple of bluebells and daffodils here and there. That's the point I'm trying to make here. How do you make trains interesting? Do you just open up Wikipedia and go, the Class 450 is a 4-coach electric multiple unit that runs with Southwestern Rail? No, mate. You tell people interesting stories. Like, when the Class 444, not specifically the 450, actually it might have been the 450, I can't remember, but when it's the brother of this train at least, the 444 was introduced, it couldn't run at maximum speed on the lines. Not all the lines, I can't remember where, but definitely in the Bournemouth and Weymouth area, it was not allowed to use full throttle because it would just... the power system wasn't strong enough, so they had to nerf the trains in that area until the national grid, well, not really national grid, but the power supply issues could be fixed and rectified. Now, that's a little interesting story here. I like those little stories. Same thing with the Hastings Tunnel, how the tunnels were built, on the Hastings line specifically, the tunnels were built poorly, so that all the trains that had to run on the line had to be built narrower. And this is already factoring in the UK's crap loading gauge. These are the kinds of things that you can get people interested in something. Don't be boring about it. Tell people interesting stories. Show people, like, little intricate works with these things here and there. And you can get people to be entertained by anything. Now let's talk about the reviewing process. When I'm reviewing a train, I like to break it down into several questions and see how well it answers these questions. So we'll start with this train. It's a Class 465. What is it? Well, it's an electric multiple unit. It gets its power from third rail. Is it fast? Well, top speed's 75 miles an hour, but it's got a good acceleration rate. A train that is fast is more efficient, and this helps because trains are one of the most efficient methods of transportation out there. The only thing more efficient than a train in terms of energy usage is a boat, and you can't take a boat from London to Sheffield. Well, actually, no, you can, it just takes a while. Where does it run? Or where did it run? Well, it runs in the southeast of England, mainly southeast London. Anything interesting design or history-wise? Well, the original Bruss motors sounded really nice. The Hitachi ones are, well, I've gotten used to them. And the GEC Alstom motors make it sound like a F1 car. And as an embarrassing story, in year 6, I tried to imitate the sound of it to my classmates. Let's not finish that anyway. What kind of services does it operate? Commuter services. Getting people in and out of the capital as fast as possible. Is it comfortable and refined? Well, I understand that comfort is sort of, a mixed bag. They're okay. The refinement is also, it's kind of not the best. But I do want to make sure that the train has at least decent seats. For me, a train is really comfortable if I can sleep on it. Like, for example, the Class 185 has really good seats. They're fantastic seats. The only problem is everything else. We'll talk about that in the future. How disabled friendly is it? So, a major factor I will look at when I'm reviewing a train is, like, the disability requirements. Like, can you get a wheelchair on? Is there a wheelchair accessible toilet? Stuff like that. I'm not in a wheelchair, and I don't need a wheelchair yet. But I still look out for the disabled because, as I'm trying to make it out as clear as possible, disabled passengers are still passengers and they should be respected. They should not be treated like fleas. Oh, I have to get the ramp out. Oh man, sir, why do you have to travel now? My train's 2 minutes late. Like a teenager having to clean their room. There have been some absolutely shocking and disgusting stories with how the disabled have been treated, and I think it's just abhorrent. It's not 1973 anymore, it's 2024, and there are still some trains and plenty of stations that aren't wheelchair accessible, and it's honestly just disgusting. The railway industry constantly prides itself on, we loves the gays and the blacks. Please understand that we respect you. And then I ask, how about putting some lifts at Euston? They go, no, we can't do that. It's stupid. Honestly, ridiculous. I think my favourite example I saw from a YouTuber, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but you'll know what I mean I might link the video in the description, where he was trying to board an IET, and the ramp was slightly blocked by a lamppost at Doncaster. No, that crap should just not be happening at all. Back on the tangent, it's like talking about the 465, it does have a wheelchair accessible space and a wheelchair accessible toilet. So, yay. Well done for that. Is it well designed for what it does? Sort of. I mean, it works, mostly. To tell you the truth, I don't know that many trains running in the UK that are well designed for the services. The only one that springs to mind is the S-Stock, because it is, better in terms of what it could do compared to the A-Stock, C-Stock and D-Stock. It can carry more passengers, it's got air conditioning, I think it does. It's faster, and it can run automatically with ATO. So, that in itself, I'd say that is a well-designed train. I could probably think of a flaw if I sit down and really, really, think about it, but yeah, that's what it goes. I have to do this for every single train I review, so keep that in mind. Context is extremely important. The following vehicles here, you can get away with calling them electric trains. But the IET on the left runs intercity services that can be as long as 400 miles. The 1972 stock on the right runs journeys that are a little bit shorter than 400 miles between Harrow and Wealdstone and Elephant and Castle, barely reaching 45 miles an hour. The PCC tram from Antwerp runs journeys with stops as short as 400 metres away from each other, and, well, if the source I'm looking for is right, can't even reach 50 kilometres an hour. So, yeah, you can't really compare them, is what I'm trying to say. All three of these are different. They are the same if you stretch them to the absolute maximum, but they're all different, and thus you can't compare one to another. It's not fair. When I'm reviewing a train, the first major stage I go through is researching. Wikipedia offers an excellent overview for trains, and I will even use different languages of Wikipedia to get more info. You can find a lot if you just go on the Dutch, German, and French sides of Wikipedia, so that's a little pro tip if you want some. I use lots of websites, Kent Rail, the Southern Railway email group, and the Railway Centre, sometimes even books, if I really want to find some obscure bits of information. The Railway Centre is one of my favourite sites to use if I want to get technical data. Let's say someone comes up to me and says, the top speed of the Class 442 is 250 miles an hour. Obviously they're talking complete balls, but I can fact check this if I need to, and oh look, it's not. What a shock. Sometimes I'll ask friends who are local to the area for some input if I need to know where a train runs. Let's say I'm going to York and maybe I want to get some extra info on what other trains I can see. Well, I'll ask 317 Dan, my Yorkshire correspondent. Very occasionally, I will ask railway staff and drivers. I don't like doing this. I don't like speaking to them because they're busy working. I don't even look in the cab unless they offer first. And even then, it's, you know, it's sort of like, nah, I'm good. I'll leave it. It's pretty much a situation of, if they're not busy and I have a burning question off the top of my head I really want to ask them, then I'll ask them. Otherwise, I'll leave them be. And I think that's really what you should do as well, but that's just me. Filming in the trains. So when I'm going out on a trip, I like to film and ride multiple train types per outing. And I don't like to go out to just find one train, because there's always the chance it could get cancelled, or it runs stupidly late, or anything else could happen. There's no point. I like to try and film multiple train types. I also like to have a mental backup plan in case things go wrong. Let's say I'm travelling to Southampton, and oh no, a meteorite strikes Shawford. So now I'm at Winchester and I don't know what to do. How am I supposed to get to Southampton? Well, I have a backup plan. I can take the bus. Continue my journey on bus. And maybe on the way back home I'll go via Salisbury instead. You know, something like that. There has been a recent situation where I was doing a trip with a friend, the backup didn't work, the backup to the backup didn't work, and the backup did not work. And I was in such... Oh, that was the worst, one of the worst trips I've ever had. And... yeah, that was a really painful situation to be in. But it can happen. So I always have to keep that in the back of my head from now. I also like to keep a low profile when I'm filming trains and when I'm riding trains. I don't like getting other people in shot. When I'm doing the interior footage, I like to do it when the train is at a terminus where everyone has got off, or if it's nice and quiet. I don't like filming other people. That's not the kind of person I am. I don't use a selfie stick. Disgusting. Absolute filth if you use one. Sorry. No, I'm kidding, but I don't like selfie sticks. I also don't want to get attention from other people. I don't really want to do anything for clout or do any collabs. I'm not that kind of person. I just want to be like, you know, I'm here. I'm just here doing filming. That's me. I like to have the mindset of a Michelin star reviewer. Like, the ones, if you don't know what that means, basically, Michelin star reviewers, you like to keep a low profile. They don't announce that they're reviewing on behalf of Michelin. In fact, they don't even tell their families or close friends that they're Michelin star reviewers. I mean, obviously my friends know that I do this series, but I like to have the mindset that I'm a ghost, almost. I still pay for my fares. I still ride on the trains, you know, responsibly and stuff like that. That's just the kind of person I am. And I think it's the most neutral and fair way of reviewing. There was one time when I was reviewing a train, I think it was the Class 91, I was riding it to Peterborough, and one of the members of staff who was working in the shop came in shot, and I stopped the footage, and I said, oh, I'm sorry. But then he quickly said, oh, no, it's fine, he quickly, like, wiped down the counter. Like, he quickly wiped down the counter with some flash cleaning spray or whatever, and that was kind of funny, but, you know, that kind of happens. I also like to ride trains multiple times just to weed out bad experiences, get a good example, idea of what the train is like on different kinds of services, but exceptions will apply if the costs are stupidly high. Hero, stop! But, yeah, you get the idea. Dang it, I clicked right click. So writing the script. The script for these videos is all written by myself on text files and read out via text-to-speech software. What software do I use? Find out for yourself. Hey, I mean, there are people who like to copy these videos, so, you know, I'm gonna make your life a little bit harder. It's the way I've been raised. Sorry about that. Now, there's no point really writing the script until I've rode on the train, you know, because what am I supposed to say about it? I can't formulate jokes about something I don't know about, or even a rough idea of what I'm trying to, get a tone of what I'm trying to get for, like the tone of the video. I can't really do that if I haven't even been on the train or seen it. On the left-hand side, you can see the text file in Notepad of the AM80 railway review I did, and if you read it quickly through there, you'll see there are some spelling mistakes and some weird formatting with random hyphens there. This is simply to punch the text-to-speech software in the right direction, because it doesn't pronounce all the words properly. Also, a lot of these are written in advance. For example, I've already started writing the 185 one, and the Sprinter one, and Those are the only two I can think off the top of my head that I've already done already. At least began writing. Editing. Oh, editing is so much fun, Daniel says with a blatant lie on his face. So the video editing is done on Sony Vegas 13, which is a non-linear video editor program, which means I can basically work on anything I want at once. So I can do the audio first, or I can do the visuals first, or stuff like that. I can do back and forth. With Sony Vegas, I can do a lot of complex stuff. I can flip the visuals upside down, I can move it from left to right. I can even do audio effects like
increasing the pitch on my voice,
or doing the spin effect with vibrato. I could do a lot, but these videos are really simple to make, so I don't usually put a lot of effects in. Oh, I can also put green screens and transitions and overlays and yeah, basic stuff like that. Nothing really complex. When I'm doing songs with the MIDI, like I'm doing a MIDI replacement, like the 195 video, which had the Anchor Zone camel by camel thing, and the Evero 400 NMC video, which was Curam's theme. I do the MIDI replacement and music for that on FL Studio 9. Images that are edited, like the Class 373 picture, which had it up on Bricks, that's edited on Paint.net. Very simple editing program. Those are really much what my software I've used. The meta software in this day and age that everybody else uses would be Adobe Premiere, Adobe Photoshop, and I guess Ableton Live for music, but I don't like using them. Well, no, I tell you, I don't want to use it. Why should I throw away 15 years of editing experience just because the meta demands it? If I was to make a feature film tomorrow, in fact, I want to make a feature film based off my novel in the distant future, I will edit it in Sony Vegas. Granted, I will probably use a newer version of Sony Vegas, but I will use Vegas. To me, it's no different from making a film on Super 8. Don't let people force you into the meta if you're fine with what you can do already. On screen here is the full veg file, the working file, if for those of you don't know what it means, of one of the videos I've done, the 195 video. If you were to watch it side by side, like if you were to watch my video and then look at this, you'll be able to see where the timelines match up and see what I'm referencing here and there. It's not that complex. I use about 10 tracks, usually 9 to 10 tracks, depending on the complexity of these videos. But this is a really simple veg file, and I really do mean that. This is really simple. I remember downloading a YTP MV veg file, and oh my goodness, that took ages to comprehend. With all the visuals and the different sounds and stuff. That was a complex one, but this is really simple. Music! So, the right song can really help me motivate me make a video, because I really like, well, I think music is a good component to it. I love me some good tunes. The song choice can actually change throughout editing whilst I'm making a video. For example, the 195 and 331 video was going to use the boss theme from Sonic versus Shadow from Sonic Generations before I changed my mind to punish people. Sometimes it can even change twice, which I think was the case with the Stadler GTW. Because I think I was going to use Cyrus's theme, and then I was going to use... I can't remember. But I definitely know I was going to use Cyrus's theme originally. I prefer using video game music, since if I use a song with lyrics, it can easily get cluttered up and gets too overwhelming from an audio standpoint. And I love using remixes from a user called JX, a Korean musician who does a lot of music that can actually be comprised onto the Genesis sound font. He recently did a remix of Press Factory Act 1 from Sonic Superstars. The original of that song sounded like complete garbage, but his remix is one of the best songs I have ever heard. I just love it so much. It's like night and day. I must show you just side by side, really. It's amazing what that is. Just, excellent. I also like using Silver Gunner rips, which if you haven't heard, Silver Gunner is a sort of bait and switch channel that uses the same sound fonts, but with a little cheeky joke here and there. Some of them will get you rolling your eyes, but there are a lot of them which are really good. The thumbnail. Well, it's a video thumbnail. Not much to really say about that. I always save the thumbnail for last, and by last, I mean when the video is uploading. So when the video is being uploaded, I'm just opening up paint.net and just doing the thumbnail, because it takes me like 5 minutes to do. The artwork for the train is done by Railway Graphics on Facebook. I really, really like the designs that the two... I think there's 2 people involved. I can't remember if... I think one of them, Fraser, is busy. I can't remember. It's just Jack. But whatever. I really like the drawings, because you can work out what the train is really clearly, because I think it's got the right sort of stylistic design of the train on artwork. I really like them. Sometimes they have little jokes in them here and there, and I also like how they're not clickbaity as well. They're not really... I don't really like putting clickbait. Unless it's an April Fool's video, I don't like putting clickbait in videos. I once saw a video in the recommendations which had a thumbnail of like, oh my goodness, this train does what? And it was talking about the Iced Tea, which is a train that tilts, and I'm sort of rolling my eyes going... You know the technology has been around since the 1930s. And even in Germany, they've done tests on them since, like, the 80s, I think? And even for, like, passenger trains, it's not even the first tilting train. It's not the first tilting train. That goes to, well, technically in service for, you know, outside of trials. I think the BR610? Yeah. So... I can't stand clickbait like that. It really gets me annoyed. And another key component about my videos is you gotta go fast. This is sort of inspired by Sakurai's sort of mindset. Masahiro Sakurai, the director of Smash Bros. And Kirby games. When I say fast pace, I don't mean you gotta make the video obnoxious with the editing and have fast editing. Just keep things flowing. You can make a video long, that's fine, like the Electrostar video is long, but you gotta keep people engaged. Keep filler to a minimum outside of that little joke I did, like at the beginning, the intro jokes. And only talk about things that are really necessary. The 180's reliability is a necessary component about why my opinion of the 180 it is as it is. The 323's motor sounds interesting. The propulsion of the GTW is another interesting aspect of it that adds to the design and makes it fast, and so on and so forth. I also want to quickly go over a few things that I just won't be reviewing in this series. So trains that are no longer in service that I've never rode on, such as the Class 314. Pretty obvious as to why, requires a time machine. The next 3 have the same reason. Preserved trains that are mainline certified, like the Hastings Thumper, rail tours, or trains that only run on heritage railways like the Class 101. My reason for this is, simply put, I think it's rude to review them in the same way that I'm reviewing them here. Let's say I managed to ride on a rail tour with that Class 40 there. Okay, let's say I managed to afford some money, I ride on a rail tour, and I could use that as an excuse to do a railway review to the Class 40. No, I can't. I mean, how do you review the Class 40 in that aspect? I'd be talking about the history of the train, which I guess that's fine and interesting, but, you know, a documentary about the Class 40 is not a review of the 40. It's not. And to add, it's not in mainline service. You can't just walk up on one and hop on a Class 40 today. It's always, it's preserved. And to me, that's just the equivalent of going to, like, an old people's home, going to a veteran who's, like, 93 years old and going, oh, aren't you a bit washed up after he's just watching Countdown in the afternoon? That's just mean. As far as I'm concerned, when a train is preserved like this, reviewing it is not really a good idea. I just don't think it's sensible. Now I can review a rail tour, well, more so give feedback on how a rail tour is, but even then, that's just doesn't really feel right to me. So, no, I'm not going to do that. There's nothing wrong with giving your feedback on a rail tour or talking about the history of a train or seeing how well it's kept in preservation, but that's not what I'm doing here. I also don't want to look at small monorails or airport shuttles. If a monorail was somewhat interesting, I might cover it, but what's the point of looking at the Gatwick Airport shuttle? There's no material there. And non-passenger locomotives or non-passenger trains like departmental stock, the Class 66, obviously you can't review them because I review these trains from the perspective of the passenger, so how are you supposed to review them? Like that. I actually had a dream ages ago where GBRF got in touch with me and asked, hey, do you want to review the Class 66? We really like your videos. And I declined politely because, well, yeah, same reason, you can't review them from the perspective of the passenger. Okay, now let's talk about humour. So, if you personally ask me, I think a lot of people in this day and age don't know what a joke is. There was a recent story of some nub throwing raw sewage on people on a train in Belgium as a prank. I mean, obviously that's... I don't understand what's wrong with people in this day and age, but... Obviously, you could argue that like that's an outlier, but even then, being a public nuisance has become the new meta of getting popular on the internet for 10 minutes, and then you will be forgotten eventually until someone brings it up 10 years later. A lot of memes and fads will just evaporate overnight, pretty much. Sometimes they last a week, maybe two, but they're the outliers. I also just cannot stand the editing styles of today. I used to call it the Cadigarous editing style, then the default YouTube editing style, but now I'm just calling it I could just call it the default editing style, and not even YouTube. It's seen on TikTok as well, which obviously I hate. But that shouldn't come to us for shock. I don't like assaulting the viewer with constant effects. I like to keep my effects, the sound effects, and other things like that to a minimum. I don't want to assault people with things. I also just think lots of people just put too much random humour as well. And don't get me wrong, I like random humour. Like, I like Aqua Teen Hunger Force, SpongeBob SquarePants, but there's still a degree of cause and effect with the kind of jokes. Like when Squidward falls off his bike and falls down that chasm and causes, then there's a nuclear explosion. That is random. Like, you could probably get away and say, that's a bit random, it causes a nuclear explosion. But there's still some cause and effect to it. Like, if, so the joke is somewhat structured, if that makes sense. The jokes that I add in my videos sort of reflect the humour that I like, and that I find enjoyable. Dry humour, observational. Sometimes I like some dark humour here and there, but actual dark humour, instead of just somebody showing a picture of, 9/11 and saying, now laugh. Like, that's not funny. There's no joke there. If you've watched the videos, I think this is the best way I can sort of express my kind of humour. A lot of the images here sort of get me laughing or get a chuckle at least out of me because, well, you could get away with calling them a bit random or stuff like that, but some of them are a few memes here and there, but a lot of them aren't exactly, well, I was going to say overused, but, the Illuminati is overused, but people don't use the Illuminati nowadays. People don't use hit markers. I love using hit markers, like when a train is raising its pantograph and hits the wire. I will put a hit marker in. I have this addiction to just little jokes that get people to roll their eyes or get a small reaction out of people. Like in the 720 video, I put the line that the appearance of the prototype or the concept art of the Class 345, it looked 20% cooler, and everybody overused that phrase in the brony fandom when My Little Pony was popular. It was Rainbow Dash's catchphrase, this is about 20% cooler. So when people hear that, they roll their eyes and go, oh, for goodness, really? That's my kind of humor. I like those kinds of jokes. And this is the same sort of humor I also put in my novel as well when I'm trying to write. I also just like things, I like slow burn as well, like especially the bottom, the picture on the bottom right hand corner. I like that. It's a bit of a slow burn joke that makes you have to go, oh, you can see the joke there. So that sort of explains it. Let's dissect one of the common jokes that I put in my videos. The obtuse punishment. So, for example, if you like the Class 153, you should be sentenced to 50 years imprisonment. The thing here is that the punishment just doesn't fit the crime, and I've taken it to the massive extreme of it. So instead of it being scary, it now just becomes hilarious. Like, imagine the police raiding some poor guy's house in Swindon because, your opinion is different from mine. Wait, is that, so that's why you brought up a grade here? It's sort of inspired not only by Top Gear, but also the Blues Brothers movie. The ending of it is just, oh my goodness, I really need to sit down and watch the whole movie, but I love the ending of that film, which I saw on YouTube. It's just the army, the police, the Air Force, the Navy, just to get two guys, of which with a suspended driver's license. That's sort of what it is. And I think this is easily one of my favourite running gags and jokes to add in the videos, and sort of expresses the kind of humour that I like. Another example I just wanted to use here is, if anyone's seen the Goku Supreme thing, that doesn't make me laugh, not even with the sound cue, it makes me roll my eyes. It's like a joke shortcut. You want to make people laugh, specifically 12-year-olds laugh, just put that in. That doesn't make me laugh at all. But the picture on the right, that does make me laugh, because, as I mentioned, it opens up a backstory and creates images in my imagination. Why is Goku doing that? It's a film shoot. Why is Bulma there? Well, maybe it's to promote something with Capsule Corp. Why is Vegeta there looking annoyed? Maybe he thinks he should be there instead. That's funny! I should also make a very quick, slightly obvious clarification before we go to the next section. If you have a different kind of humour to me, that's okay. My sense of humour is not superior to yours, but likewise, your sense of humour is not superior to me. Or anybody else. I'm just saying that I won't add jokes in that I don't find funny, or if they completely destroy the pace of the video. Let's talk about feedback and interaction. One of the benefits of being a rather small YouTube channel is that I can actually reply to your comments. I don't reply to every single comment because sometimes I just don't have much to say or there's nothing to say, but I do my best to reply to as many comments as I can. And it's honestly great to listen to other people's thoughts and opinions on trains, buses, trams, the weather, whatever it is. I really like learning about other people's perspectives. Your opinion shouldn't be static, you should always be flexible to challenge yourself. If you love the IET and everything about it, that's great. Tell us why you like it. If you want to convince me that the IET is brilliant, now you've got a challenge, but I'd like to see you try. I had a train driver comment on the 165 video a while ago, saying that one of the benefits of the lower top speed with the Chiltern 165s was that you don't struggle going up the hills that much, whereas the 168s are more likely to struggle going up the hills because they change gear at 70 miles an hour, whatever it is, I can't remember, as opposed to the 165 changing gear at a number I can't remember. 45? Let's just say 45 for the sake of discussion. But yeah, that's one of the benefits. I still don't want to ride a 165 from Birmingham to London again, but it's a benefit I will accept and go, oh, I never thought about it like that. That being said, there are a few problems that have resulted with these videos. Problem 1, smartasses. And I don't know what it is about transport communities that attract just the most annoying smartasses to comment sections. Now, if you are coming in to make a correction or point out a mistake, that's great, that's fine, I don't have a problem. Oh no, I accidentally pronounced the place name wrong. That's not a problem, that's fine. The problems come from when it's miscellaneous stuff that isn't really relevant. I'm going to use a comment I remember getting a while ago, and keep in mind, I don't have any anger against people making these comments, it's just more like, ugh. an eye roll, if anything. But I had a comment from somebody a while ago on the Electrostar review. Somebody saying, why didn't you cover the weight differences of the trains? Because, that also affects the acceleration. And it's true, weight does affect acceleration. In fact, I mentioned that the Aventras, in a future video, the Aventras are lighter than the Class 360, and the 360 is really heavy. The reason I didn't mention it is because it doesn't affect my opinion on the train, and the video was already long, so why bother bringing it up? Yes, it's true, but I don't need to talk about it. The most common one will usually be, actually the top speed of a train is blah blah blah. Those kinds of ones. Like, if someone comes up to me and asks me, what's the top speed of a TGV? And I go, about 300 kilometers an hour, I will get people going, actually there's versions of them that can do 320, and the original one can only do 270. Yeah, I know, I'm just giving a broad answer, for goodness sake. There are methods to counter this kind of smart-arsery, but they're never foolproof. I mean, here's the thing, you can make it idiot-proof or retard-proof, but you can't do both. That's basically the kindest way I can describe these situations. Apologies for my language, but I think that's how I need to express it there. Problem number 2, ungratefulness. Much to the shock of a few people, it doesn't take 10 minutes to make these videos. It takes several hours of work, several tens of hours of work to make these videos. In fact, this recording session for this video, up to the section here, is exceeding an hour of just recording my voice talking. Ignoring the thumbnail art, which is done by Railway Graphics, and footage not filmed by myself, all of the work is done solo. I do everything. I write the script, I film the trains, I organise the films, I edit it, render it, upload it, all by myself. I even write the descriptions all by myself. Everything is mostly done by me. I hate asking for people for help unless it's absolutely necessary. That's why the only time I've asked you people, the viewers, to submit footage was when it was for a train I loved, in this case the 373. I could have done it for many more other trains. But I only do it when I think it's absolutely necessary or I don't have any other options. To add, these videos are released for free on YouTube with no obnoxious sponsors or any forms of interactions. In fact, let me let you into a little secret here, okay? Because obviously I never tell people to interact with the video unless I want opinions on something, which that's perfectly fine. But I'm going to let you into a little secret. Make sure you're watching this not on full screen, so exit out of full screen and look on the YouTube sort of visuals, whatever it is, the main sort of video page. Now watch very closely. Like, favorite, subscribe, comment, hit the bell. Now, if I did this test right, you may have seen some flashes on the screen. Like, you may have seen the video, like highlighted, or something like some little highlights there. That's a new little feature YouTube have added. I find that extremely obnoxious and childish to ask people to do that. It tells me you don't respect me as a viewer. If your videos are good, I'll like them. If they're not, I'll dislike them and go away. It's really that simple. Another thing to remember is that I don't actually make any money from YouTube. I haven't made a penny since I've been on this site for, well, this is going to be the 14th year. There's simply too many risks and the pay is garbage. Some people can get around that. But I've described YouTube, making money off YouTube as walking along an invisible tightrope for a reason. There are some people who can get past that. They can work through the grind. They have other ways of doing that. And I have lots of respect for them. But please don't pester me to get on that grind. Give me a shout when YouTube pays above minimum wage, then we'll consider. This also extends to people pestering me about different kinds of trains, like to do reviews. In fact, anytime I see somebody asking me, can you do the blank train here, I instead see, I'm an ungrateful freeloader. A lot of people want me to do the review to the sprinters, the 150s, 153, 156, etc, etc. You do realise I've been filming these trains for years. In fact, I really want to do the sprinters. Unfortunately, there's a sprinter called the Class 155, which only runs around York, Leeds and Hull. and there are only 7 of them, and I need to ride on it again because I've actually forgotten what it was like when I first rode on it. Sorry people, that's reality. Until I can afford to go to Bridlington and back for the day, I can't do that video. Just be patient. But the second I'm able to film and ride another 155, I'll get to work on that video. Oh, also I have to rewrite the script of that, because when I first started writing the Sprinter video, the 156s were still being used by East Midlands Railway, so yeah, I've got to rewrite that. Oh, and the 153s were still being used by Northern, so yeah, I've got to rewrite that. I'd like to think of my videos as like a pub, or even any YouTube video as like a pub. We can chat, have drinks, have a good time, argue about who should be given community service for liking the seats on the ScotRail 156, you know, that kind of stuff. But if you just cause an unnecessary ruckus, you be annoying and you go, I want this train now, you'll be barred. It's simple. I'll just kick you out. I have had some pretty rude and obnoxious people comment. They have been warned, and I'm more than happy to give them a kick. Commenting on any YouTube video is a privilege, not a right. It's not like, you know, food, water, shelter, commenting on YouTube. That's not, that one doesn't fit. It's not a power trip if someone bans you from somewhere. In this case, I'm just asking you not to be a nuisance. Simple as that. And if you don't want to do that, the door's behind you. I really don't care. I'd rather cultivate a nice small community of people with some respect than a bunch of kids who can't understand the simple answer of no. Problem number 3, copycats. Oh, we loves copycats, don't we? This is slightly inevitable. Now, in all fairness, copycats range on a scale. There can be harmless ones who might just do a little reference to here and there, and that's honestly completely harmless. I don't mind people doing a little reference to the videos. 2 blatant ones where they're just copying so much to the point they may as well just download and re-upload the video, which you shouldn't do that unless the channel is gone or the video it's gone and you're providing a mirror, which, you know, yeah, whatever. It's only one step below freebooting, and if you don't know what freebooting is, it's basically the meta of Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts, where instead of making your own content, you download something and re-upload it on your channel and say it's yours. That's the new meta of freebooting, whatever. Now, I've seen a couple of copycats. The least offensive example I've seen was with an American train. I don't remember what it was. It's some Bombardier or something or whatever. It's an American train. They all look the same. The creator at least made their own jokes and had their own opinion, and at least acknowledging that this was based off this style. The only problem was it was filmed in portrait mode and edited like the generic TikTok edited videos. So obviously when I come to power, we will find where this person lives and put him on trial, but that's for the future. Wait until this is now. The worst example I've had was somebody who stole most of the script and the jokes and the editing and even downloading my original video to steal one of the jokes. I'll prove it to you.
The 181, the other hand, can regularly be seen stabled in the depot at Derby Etches Park, idling with a broken gearbox in the stabling sidings near Cricklewood, broken down in Heaton Depot, or occasionally serving the likes of Leicester.
It can be found in sidings idling with a broken gearbox or a broken engine.
3 core reasons, the latter only applying to the 180. It wasn't made by Alstom. It also wasn't made in the Midlands with tried, and thus were built to a half-decent standard.
Why so unreliable? That's because
made in the Midlands with tried.
The 185 has the same engine and gearbox, but are reliable that they weren't made in Birmingham.
That is just so juvenile, honestly. Instead of making his own video, this kid, and yes, it's a kid because I've seen his reflection in one of the videos, says, I want to be a comedian too. Who should I look for inspiration? Amy Schumer. Haha. Let's see what we can do. I activate copy paste. This will show how much skill I have. Now, there is a potential chance that someone will accuse me of being a bit hypocritical. And I can understand that because the railway reviews are effectively my own take on the Unicum guides for World of Tanks. But think about it, the format is the same, but I bring in a different kind of humour, different pacing, and a different goal of the videos. The goal of the Unicum guides is to teach people how to play the game properly. The goal of the Railway Review series is to review an actual train and see what it's like and how good it is in terms of design and its upsides and downsides and stuff like that. I've created a little estimate of a Venn diagram of the people who play World of Tanks and watch those Unicum guides versus the people who watch my videos. And I'll accept that there's an overlap, but is it going to be significant enough that it is just a complete steal? Well, no, not at all. And it's not like I have anything against people making videos or trains, or even reviewing trains, or talking about the history of trains. Rory McVeigh, Super Owls, Yowie, GW Villager, Trainspotter from Taronga, Jeff Marshall, as well as many more talk about trains without copy-pasting this style, somehow. Making videos talking about trains is great. The more people who talk about trains and bring issues up to our attention is fantastic. But don't be a copycat about it. To put it simply, referencing the Akira slide is pretty awesome, honestly. That's a sick-looking shot. But making a crappier Akira and calling it your own thing isn't. Just, yeah, don't do that. Also, fingers crossed that Akira does not get a live-action remake, please. The following section is brought to you by you, the viewer. You asked me some questions regarding these videos, and I'm going to do my best to answer them right now. So a common question I've got is, why do you use the text-to-speech voice instead of your own voice for these videos? And to be honest, I can't fault you at all for asking that. Some people just can't stand the text-to-speech voice and would much prefer these videos if I spoke myself. But it's to keep with the theme of the Unicum guides, that's basically why. Also, it saves a lot of energy speaking my voice, but that's not the main reason why I make them. It's just another bonus factor. Also, I just think the text-to-speech is a lot funnier than my own voice. In fact, I don't even know what accent I have. I know I'm English, obviously British, but I don't know what kind of British. I don't know, so it's not funny. I think if I had a northern accent or a Yorkshire accent, I think it'll be a lot funnier, but I don't. That's why I brought that up. If there was an episode you wanted to remake, due to either production quality, opinion shifting on the trains, or different information about the trains, like working in different areas or for a different company, which one would it be and why? That's a good question, because I've been considering this with the HST Castle sets, the Class 165 and 166 with GWR, as well as the upcoming, well, supposedly upcoming Class 458-4 with Southwestern Railway as a sort of round 2 video, where in these videos we take a look at the train and see if they're better or worse on these new routes compared to what they were running previously. Now, I really think it could be a good idea to do it with the castle sets. Obviously they don't run to Cardiff anymore, which is stupid, so filming them is a little bit of a pain. Lack of footage, time constraints are mainly my main reasons as to why I haven't really jumped into this idea. But we'll see what happens in the future. Maybe your mind will change. Maybe not. What type of camera do you use? Now, I've used plenty of cameras and camcorders over the past, about 15 years of filming and train spotting. But the first camera that I used my first digital camera that I got for my birthday in 2009 was a Sony Cybershot DSC-T7. Which, well, recorded everything in potato, but it was a gateway. I needed that camera. All the footage nowadays, however, I just film on my phone, which is an Honor 90. This is mainly due to convenience, and I don't need to record any higher than 1080p, because not only does it norm all the storage space if I record in 4K, but I render these videos in 1080p anyway, so there's no point of recording anything higher. Plus, the phone has some pretty good stabilization. The only downside is filming at night, which is the issue with the previous phone, my Xiaomi Mi 10 or Mi 11. I can't remember which one it was. One of the two. What is your favourite train you've reviewed in this series so far and why? Well, 373. Easy peasy. That's the easiest answer to that. It was such... I felt so satisfied when I finally, after all these years, managed to ride the 373 and it was so nice. It was comfortable. It was refined. It sounds excellent. The biggest problem was I got trolled with the seats. I got Alstom seated again. But that's okay. I spent 600 quid in fares just to try and find one. I had a lovely journey for the most part. And it was so satisfying to finally ride on one. So, me happy bunny. What's been your favourite one to make of the railway reviews? Surprisingly, it's the Streetlight one and the Enviro 400 MMC April Fool one as well. The reason why was that nobody expected it. Nobody saw this video coming, and that's what I think makes a good joke, or especially a good April Fool's joke. Like the idea of just reviewing the Streetlight as a bus is just funny, and I also think as a bus, the Streetlight's obviously bad, so there was a fun, bad aspect of it. And I obviously decided to go around to many places to film them. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to make, and it was a fun bait and switch as well with the Enviro 400 MMC April Fools, with it being a cable car review. I just found that really fun to make. Special mention also goes to the train spotting guide as well, because that was also just really fun to do a live action one like that. Favourite UK train? Well, I could cheat if I picked the 373, but I'm not. Now, one problem is that a lot of trains I do like have just too many flaws for me to really enjoy them or call them favourites. The 180 is unreliable, Turbo Stars and Voyagers get overcrowded, the 350-2 exists, and Least Worst just sounds too mean. But if I really had to sit down, if I could just avoid the electrocuting bunny that is the breakdowns and the unreliability, I really do like the 180. It's nice to ride. It really is nice just to ride on. But it's a pain. I really have to struggle. You know what? I can't believe I didn't think of making this comparison in my video. The 175 and the 180s are the Lancias of the railway. I can't believe I didn't make that comparison. They are pretty much Lancias. The unreliability, the rust, but when they work, they are sublime, and they look great as well. Favourite train you'd really like to review? Oh my goodness, don't get me started. There are just lots of trains, mainly in Europe, that I want to review so badly. There's the Integral, Belgian Intercity trains, the Bombardier Talent, Corradier Lint, Stade Le Flirt, the Paris RER and Metro, even a couple of trolley buses would be nice, and TGVs. One of them I would love to do would be the ICE trains, the Intercity Express trains in Germany. But there's a problem, that being, there's quite a few of them. There's the ICE 1, the ICE 2, the ICE 3, the Volaro D ICE 3, the ICE 3 Neo, the ICE 4, the ICE T, and the ICE L, which I don't know if that one's entered in service, but that's 8 trains, and they all run into city services, so if I do that, Deutsche Bahn are going to be rubbing their hands.
Oh yes, we can offer that journey at an exceptional price.
So, it's going to be a while. I'm going to keep my cards close to my chest of what my biggest desire is at the moment, but I might need some help from somebody, a Belgian correspondent, specifically someone who exists near Belgian trains. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Please? Pretty please? Which train do you hate the most so far in all of your reviews? Well, that's easy, it's the IET. As I mentioned in the videos, the IET is just so poorly designed for the services that it runs. The IET, to me, feels like they were designing a commuter train and made it faster. Because it's got stupidly fast acceleration, which, let's be honest, really isn't that necessary. But the seats and the interior are garbage. And as I've mentioned to GW Villager, I've done everything I can to avoid riding this train. I haven't rode one since October 2021, and I managed to do this by either being clever by only riding on LNER 225s, or riding the coach. Oh, and the coach is cheaper, and I don't have to go via Reading. That's another benefit of the coach. Now, there are new versions of the IET that have been introduced. The 803, which I have at least touched up the seats on one day, and the seats are better. But, 5-car intercity trains. There's a reason why I once saw a Luma train running 10 coaches. Like, duh! You're running trains from London to Edinburgh, and you're undercutting LNER. Why do you think they're overcrowded, you numpty? As for the other ones, which also include the 805, the 807, and the vastly different 810, which I believe most of them have entered testing at least, it's just, I don't want to ride them, I really don't. EMR claim that the 810 will have one of the most comfortable seats, but, this is the same company that charges 150 million quid for a return from London to Wellingborough, so I don't really fancy that. Not yet. If you were to review a local haul train, how would you do it? Such as a train hauling Mark II coaches? This is another good question, but I've done it twice before already. For the Mark IIIs, well, look at the HST video, and for the Mark IV coaches, the Intercity 225 Class 91 video. We reviewed them together with the locos mainly using them in the most common formation. I think that made the most amount of sense. That being said, when I want to review Belgium's trains and coaches, they have whole different types of coaches like the M4, M5, M6 and 7. Then you have the I6, I10 and I11. It's going to be a bit tricky, but I think I'm just going to review them all at once. Yes, I know the M5s are sort of not as high up on the intercity ladder, but it makes the most amount of sense for me. Mark 1 and Mark 2 coaches aren't used on regular services in the UK anymore. I know the Jacobite exists before anybody tries to jump down my throat, but I haven't got Jacobite money, so that won't be happening. The Mark 5As with TPE were actually on my to-do list, until they became a bunch of pansies and threw them in the bin. Look, deafened people in Scarborough aside, this stupid government threw away 13 trains after a couple years of use. And I've also included a very complex equation at the bottom there to sort of explain what the problem is, if you don't understand why I'm complaining about that. Now let's finish this video up with some fun little trivia. So my friend Jamie, a few years ago, was living in France, specifically near Strasbourg and at one point in Paris. So to force him outside of the house and keep him motivated, I would set him some real fun filming challenges. I'll give you an example of what one looks like on screen. We would do like a point system where you'd have to film a certain amount of trains in a specific area, or make sure you get enough footage of this kind of train in order to pass the challenge. Sometimes I'd even offer a joker train. So if you film every kind of train but you fail to film this kind of train today, you fail the challenge no matter what. Those were pretty fun for him. And because of this, I actually have footage of trains from Switzerland, the Alps, France, and Germany, as well as some other countries which you may or may not have seen. To motivate my friend, I would sometimes offer a unique form of punishment. And I took my inspiration for this from Top Gear with the Vietnam Special Bike. Basically, the punishment would need to be something that goes, no, 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 I don't want to do this. Now, to tell you what the kind of punishments I came up with would be spoiling the magic. A magician never reveals his secrets, because how is he going to buy bread tomorrow? Instead, I'm going to give you an example of a punishment, so it gives you a nice taster of what kind of motivator I would use. So, in this example punishment, should you fail the challenge, you will need to read Chapter 1 of Homestuck. Yeah, that's Geneva Convention breaking, I know, but, that's the kind of punishment I would come up with. Overall, these have been really fun. We sadly haven't had the chance to do that many. However, we were able to do another one not too long ago, as my friend had to go to Edinburgh. So I made him film a whole bunch of trains in Scotland in exchange for the safe return of his cat. So thank you very much, Jamie. So, the Unicum Guide to Trainspotting. So, all of this was filmed, obviously, at Shippey Hill, and we filmed it on a Sunday in August 2021. The reason why we picked a Sunday was, there was basically no other day we were free at the time, but more importantly, there was going to be no one there. I mean, no one boards trains at Shippey Hill. The trains don't stop at Shippey Hill, and there will be less trains passing through because, well, Sunday. I only wrote a partial script for the video, and I don't even know if I still even have it. I think it was like more like a note list. I do remember saying to myself, if I showed my script to one of my filmmaking friends, he probably would have got glaucoma instantly. It's that bad. But that's okay, because it just needed to be readable by me, and my friend as well. The video itself was heavily inspired by the 465 brake training video by British Rail, in the sense of there's somebody speaking to a narrator and they keep going back and forth like tennis. I do like the idea of a training video. It makes it a lot more engaging and interesting. So that was our main inspiration. I didn't tell Jamie about the Black Sands from Undertale bit until we started filming it. He knew I brought my coat because there was some rain passing through and the wind was actually quite fast. So, yeah, there were some speedy rain clouds on that day. But I didn't tell him about what I was going to do until we started that section. And the reaction you see from Jamie is quite legit. See, the annoyance of, oh, really? I really like that. So, there you go. A teeny bit of method acting there. And there are obviously plenty of bloopers and outtakes, which I may or may not release in the future. I'll think about it. This one is kind of interesting. So, the intro joke was originally going to be based off the GIF you're seeing on the right-hand side, which was from Bleach. I think my idea was it was going to be a joke about which train accelerates fastest, but I couldn't remember which train was I was going to use instead of a 395. I couldn't remember. Or maybe it was top speed. I really can't remember what I was going to do with that joke. Because it was a while ago, it was a year ago. Goodness me, I feel bad. So before I made this intro joke, I decided to go ahead and record the train simulator section, which actually required 3 takes. The first take I filmed was heading in the Kent-bound direction. I reached 106 miles an hour and derailed. Oh, and the game just stopped, so yeah, that sucks. The second take, I decided to go in the London-bound direction. I was reaching about 70 miles an hour through Strood, but that wasn't fast enough, as you can kind of tell. I mean, yeah, obviously, the train is a bit on the, a bit tilty, but it got through. It was just rather funny and slightly embarrassing, so I had to do that shot again. The third take, I decided to go a lot faster. This time, I reached about 80 miles an hour going through Strood, and this is the take that actually made it into the video. When I was recording this, my first initial reaction, I was like, oh, this is great, the train is derailing. I was so happy about that. But when the train flew back, I was laughing for about 90 seconds straight. I almost fell off my chair because I was laughing so much. I didn't even bother, clicking OK or anything. I couldn't describe how much I was laughing. My mum actually rushed upstairs. She thought something was wrong. And, that was just... At that point, I realised, stuff the intro joke, I am going with this. And the Class 175 and 180 video. So, originally, this had different music. I was going to use Solar Man from Mega Man 10. Haha, very funny, I know, but... I liked the song, but then I played Freedom Planet 2, reached Shade Armory, and then said, oh my goodness, I love this song, let's use the song instead. I had a very secret plan, and that is I was going to, for this video, hire Paul Timan himself, after getting in touch with his agent. Yeah, that was the plan. I was going to have him read a couple lines, indirectly referencing the Class 180 and the You'll Be Going Nowhere line. The problem was, this would have costed £500 minimum to do. £250 an hour to hire the guy, plus £250 usage fee. And don't get me wrong, I like the Paul Timan memes every once in a while, but 500 quid's a lot of money. And these plans were thrown in the bin as soon as my sister passed away during the production of it. So the money that would have gone to him instead went to the funeral, so I just could not bother. I had to drop the idea. His agent was lovely and all, And I'm kind of glad I didn't in hindsight, since it's a lot of money for what could have been only 20 seconds at most. And it would have been a very bad investment. Sometimes you have to sort of step back and go, would this really be a good idea? And nah, I'm kind of glad I didn't do it. Plus, he's under no obligation to definitely go with it. Obviously, if he took the money, that's another story, but he probably would have said, nah, probably wouldn't have bothered, and I wouldn't want to pester him for the meme. He probably doesn't know if it's that popular, and he's getting older. I mean, he's growing grey hair at the moment. If you've seen any new pictures of him, I don't want to bother him for this, especially for something as juvenile as these videos. But there you go. For people curious of who his agent was, I'm not actually going to give this information. You can find it yourself, but I'm not going to tell you, because the last thing he needs is more people pestering him about this kind of stuff, and yeah. And that concludes the behind the scenes video, so thank you very much for watching along, or at the very least listening along to what I had to say about these videos. Filming trains at the moment has become nothing, at least in the UK, it's been a complete mess and pain. It's so expensive, the variety sucks, lots of journeys aren't interesting, and the trains are unreliable, but I'm doing my best to try and entertain you as best as I can with these videos. They're fun to make, and I still enjoy talking about trains. And I'm glad that even if you completely disagree with what I have to say, I'm glad you can find some degree of enjoyment with what I have to talk about with different kinds of trains and buses and other things here and there. Hopefully I'll be able to entertain you and share some new interesting bits here and there in the future. And maybe the next railway review will be one of the trains you see up on screen, or maybe I deliberately pick these trains just to troll you, because there's a file called Belgian Classic Train Material.veg on my screen right now. We'll see. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. The video has now ended.